Next, Kat Sparks. Kat.
Hi, my book is a post-apocalypse story set in a far future Australia. Yes, it is. It's called Ankamara, which is the name of a city, and the 4 linked stories concern the search for the city and what happens when it's discovered. This story is called New Chronicles of Andras Thorn. Andras Thorn was a famous traveller and the uncle for whom I was named. By the year of my birth, 3 times he'd voyaged all the way up to Carpenter's Gulf. In my 10th summer, he turned his attentions inland, beyond the sand road and the verger's scattered outposts, beyond Grim Piper and the farthest stone. He chronicled his journeys in books with vellum bindings. My childhood was peppered with those stories. All but my mother worshipped the ground he walked on. Don't you take after him, she warned, already regretting the name she'd saddled me with. Too late. My uncle's laughter shook the rafters of our home. Wine flowed and tales grew wilder with the telling. At 15, I was itching to earn stories of my own, not for me with the dour grains and cheeses of my father's modest, even slow emporium. Uncle Andras claimed to have stood upon the walls of Axa, lived amongst the Gnartooth clans, crewed a whaler out of Fallow Heel. But those were not the stories to make my own hairs stand on end. My own father's wagons had passed Axa scores of times, plus others of the ancient fortress cities, each one a still unchanging monolith, blast-proof ceramic ringed by plains of unexploded mines. Perhaps people lived in them and perhaps they didn't. Phantom inhabitants who never showed their faces, who cared whatever they once had been if they were nothing now. Only one name stirred the fire in my blood, Ankamara, a city so lost no one knew where to look for it. Not even my uncle, for all his rugged talk. Ankamara, ancient like Axa, without windows, doors or gates. Some whispered it to be a living thing. Ankamara, mutant canker pushing upwards through the sand. Was Ankamara the city shell or the name of the god king that dwelled within its heart? I had to find out. I would be the one. My destiny, and it would have been had the blighted storm not cut across my path. Boiling up from nowhere like a ginny from the sands, stripping me of everything I owned, save for the vellum-bound chronicle, my illustrious uncle's parting gift, something he surely would have wanted me to have had he woken when I'd stolen the best of his camels. I'd tucked that book inside my shirt as the sand rasped and stung and scratched my face. That book pressed damp above my heart as, cocooned within my sand cloak, dug in beside my camel's still warm carcass, I waited for death with nothing more than a whispered prayer to Kasha the dog-headed warrior. But death did not come. Instead, a bright new morning, and me as lost as any man has ever been. Alone in the land of my uncle's stories, finding shelter in squat box-like ruins, barely interesting enough to bother sketching. Each cobwebbed corner marked with ashen campfire dregs and the bones of explorers who had died beside their dogs. Had the poor fools been trapped by serpents, storms, or other things? Uncle's stories had been amply laced with misborn beasts, horrors who'd made the deep expanse of Heartland home. Part animal, part human, part machine. Merchant Queen Camellini was always one for the grotesque, and I'd half presumed he invented most of them to make her dig a little deeper into that coin purse of hers. His most celebrated exploit, Calcia by land and sea, had been hand-lettered on kid vellum by a brace of expensive monks. It hung in Evenslow's town hall dining room, so they said. I had never dined there. My uncle was drunk when they cut the ribbon. He'd been drunk every single night since. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. And to complete the lineup, Deborah. Deborah? Oh, I beg your pardon, we don't have Deborah with us today, so that's the lineup. Would everybody just like to come up to the stage and take a quick bow? And no dancing here, please.
No.
So. Now, I'd like to ask lots of questions about the press and about how all these people came to be authors for the press, but we're on borrowed writers festival time. So please talk to the authors, please buy the authors' books, please get them to sign their books, and please buy our forthcoming authors' books as well in the future. So the authors, thank you. And thank you all.